Hodily hoo, hodily hoo.
Hey,
Yo,
man.
what's going down, nigga?
Sunday morning after a late night.
Oh man, is it time to wake up?
Yeah, just about.
It's like 11
I
o'clock.
go to church.
You're supposed to be on your schedule, man. You're supposed to be up at 6 a.m. doing military push-ups.
I need to, but I haven't been following it, so trying to get with the program.
Okay, let's see here. Testing. 1, 2, microphone.
Wait,
Test,
what
test.
the hell? You gonna do it from your bed?
Test, test. I'm laying in a sexy horizontal position. Bogler can see me on camera. He's eating. And it's time for Manhood Academy podcasting.
Let's do it in a couple of minutes, dude.
What?
Let's do it in a couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes.
I'm putting the last morsel of food in my mouth right now.
I'm still yawning. Oh, fuck. It is way early or late. I can't even think right now.
It's a nice cozy day. It's very pleasant today.
Yeah, it's pretty nice and cozy out. I was actually working on the ebook.
I see. Okay.
I'm on page 180.
This is how you eat Indian style. Curry.
You're eating
That's
curry.
for your eyes.
I can smell your curry through the video link.
There you go.
Curry's dissolving my eyeballs.
You eat with the hands.
That is awesome. This is true Indian. Most people have graduated to a knife and fork, and Boggles is still hand-fingering his food like he's eating paste. This is awesome.
See, that's because you gotta feel all the senses. I have to touch my food to feel it.
You gotta have the sensation of the food.
The touch sensation. And your hands
Your
are clean with the knives and forks anyway.
Your keyboard must have curry in between all the cracks. It must just be a yellow board. You touch it and it breaks the crust, the curry crust.
Well, the teeth? No, I actually have very good teeth, yeah.
Talking about your keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
Your
I keep
teeth.
wiping the curry away.
Fucking Indians. There's curry all over his keyboard.
Yeah, have some tissues at hand. So
Curry and DNA keyboard. Special on
Exactly.
Craigslist.
They're gonna perform
Oh,
experiments.
okay. While you fucking eat your disgusting curry with your fingers,
I'm done.
I'm gonna talk about the changes to the ebook. So,
Alright.
I'm gonna move over to... Oh, wait a second. I was reading...
I'll wash my hands and be back in a minute.
Colonel Harper's Fearless Flying Expression Brigade. Let's take a little, whatchamacallit, not a progression, not a regression, not a transgression. What's it called when you, a digression, there we go.
Hold on 1 second.
We're gonna make a digression. We're gonna digress and talk about an expression and treat. Just because. So we're reading Colonel Harper's Fearless Flying Expression Brigade, entry May 8th, 2011 at 7:40 a.m. My adherence to my schedule is slipping already. All the same, I realize that I have made steps forward. A few months ago, the idea that a schedule and goals would make me be more competent in social situations was completely alien to me. If you pitched it to me, I probably would have said, oh, that makes sense, but not really believed it. I've been foolish all my life. This is like a startling revelation. So it'd be like putting a painting from the Louvre on the wall of a Hooters. Before long, it would be chucked out because it doesn't fit with all the junk in there. So hard for me to read in a horizontal position. Maybe I have to slightly adjust so my eyes are level with the horizon. It doesn't fit with all the other junk in there, even though it's a priceless work of art. I still have a lot of bad habits and all the other junk in there, even though it's a I hate when you're trying to read a line in a book, and your eyes keep focusing on the same line.
Oh, that happens to me so much. I hate it.
I hate when you accidentally click your mouse,
That makes
and
sense.
it clicks on another window, and you're totally confused. You don't even know where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And then while you're trying to undo the confusion, some asshole tries to send you an email in the middle.
Yeah. That's like the law.
Unfucking believable.
Everything that you think will go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah, everything's trying to distract me from reading Colonel Harper's Fearless post. There must be something secret in his post that all these distractions are trying to prevent me from discovering.
Yeah, all these forces of evil.
I still have a lot of bad habits and misinformed beliefs in my head, so the pain of scheduling goals. I think he doesn't mean painting. I think he means pain. So the pain of scheduling and goals. What the fuck? This fucking Chinese grammar is throwing me for a loop. So the painting of scheduling and goals. What the hell does that mean? The painting of scheduling?
Babe, let's just go with painting.
No, painting. He says painting. I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay. He's looking at the schedule as a painting. I like this.
He's painting his schedule. I don't know.
Let's assume he looks at the schedule as a painting.
Yeah, maybe he's creating a Renoir. It's frequently on the verge of being tossed out, but the encouraging thing is that every time I put it back up, some of the other clutter gets taken away. Now instead of Hooters, it's a sleazy McDonald's where greasy-haired high school punks hang out. Still not the Louvre. In the end, it's still difficult for me to understand deep in my bones how ordering my life helps me have orderly social interactions, but I can see the effects of it all. It pushes me forward to train a bit more, to stick to my schedule, baby steps.
That's something I was thinking about because, I still got a lot of desire.
You gotta understand, all these things are interrelated. It's not that your schedule is gonna help you, talk to a chick directly, but the goal of your schedule is to make your life more orderly. So when your life is more orderly, you can do more things.
Yeah.
And it's often this disorder that infects your life affects other areas. For instance, your social interaction. When you're not organized, you can't get anything done. You're frantic. You're anxious. You're neurotic. This translates into how you deal with people.
Exactly.
So all these things are related, not directly, but indirectly, and sometimes directly. But the point is, they're all related in some way. That's why we take care of things from the ground up. We have to unfuck you from the ground up. We can't just start and say, "Hey, I don't know what condition you happen to be in, but go talk to that girl and say this. Or go talk to that guy and make friends and say that." It's just not going to happen. There's so many things contributing to your social incompetence that must be dealt with first.
Yes.
And if those things aren't dealt with, you're going to end up like AJJR.
Oh.
I don't know if you're going to end up like him or not. I just read his entry.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. This guy, every time I see his icon with this guy with his mouth open and his tongue his tongue swelled up like a frog and his eyes bulging, I just think of like a frogman. AJGR is quite an interesting fellow. I think of him as like a neurotic Walter Mitty guy. Like you make a loud sound behind him and he'll jump. But I like this guy. I like his entries. He seems just like a young kid just learning to get his balls back, basically. So I would rate him as the underdog, and I've always rooted for the underdog. So his entries, while pedestrian in some sense, they're actually a little more interesting for me to read. Oh, fuck, Boggles is coming back. Boggles. I was in the middle of a soliloquy talking about AJJR's entry, and you fucking dial me up? You weren't listening the whole time? You're busy redialing me?
No, what happened is the computer suddenly went into some mode, C4, and
fucking Boggles.
Yeah, you see that over there?
Boggles, I was talking about AJJR.
Okay.
I can't even say J's right now. That's how confused my tongue is. AJJR and his entry. His entries aren't really, some guys. Hold on a second. I'm taking a swig of some water here so I can get coherent.
Dude, you should see this on my thing here.
All right, shut up. You're fucking distracting me. I gotta get out one coherent thought this entire podcast. I haven't gotten out one coherent thought. AJ, you know how some guys like who's a good writer like Boke or Bouc, Boke or Harpo sometimes. These guys have poetic prose and strong imagery.
I like it.
But then there's like AJJR. It's not necessarily the most I don't want to say profound, but he's not necessarily the most adept painter of words, but the words he uses remind me almost of like a Hemingway-esque, very succinct and to the point entry. Like he won't necessarily talk about the flowery green felt leaves of a tree, but he's going to give you a very succinct take on life, a very succinct take on what he views as going on in life. He's almost like a little fortune cookie. So it's like reading a little blurb, a little TLDR.
Yeah, okay, nice. It's good for readers who can't read much.
Yeah, it's good for readers who don't read much or can't read much.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's a little bite-sized thing. He's like a little bowl of cereal. Those other guys are like a big fucking meal, but every now and then you just want a little bowl of cereal. You want a little AJJR.
Entries, I'll be sitting there for a half hour. This guy can do it in 5 minutes.
There you go. That's like, I like these little bursts of entries. I've got a backlog of expression posts to read because I'm
not able to keep up.
Fuck, I hate not being able to keep up because I've been working on the ebook.
Yeah.
Let's skip to that right now.
Part 3? Is part 3 of pictures?
Part 3 is getting pictures. So I'm up to page 180 right now.
Oh, okay, you're almost there.
There's a guy with his phone, and he's screaming at it.
Yeah, because the pictures it freaking ingrains those concepts.
Yeah, I like the pictures now. At first I thought they were pretty,
Nah. Pictures are good, man.
Yeah, I thought they were just kind of useless and kind of frivolous, but now when I'm looking at the pictures, like if I'm trying to illustrate a difficult concept like limitation,
there's more clarity.
Yeah, I think the pictures really help, so.
It forces you to be more clear because now you have to find a picture that relates to the concept.
Yeah.
I know that, bro. I know that. Yeah. I just tell you.
So there's 218 pages to edit, or not so that means about 40 more pages to go.
Yeah, you're almost there.
Almost to the promised land, and I'm so excited because when I'm done with this fucking book, I want to create a hardcover, full color version of it.
Ooh, nice, so exciting, man.
But the problem is, if I do it printed on demand, it's gonna end up being like literally, I'm not fucking joking, like $120 just to print this stupid book. But that's print on demand. That's hardcover, full color pages. So I'm trying to find another solution because obviously that's too fucking expensive.
Yeah, through some local publisher, I don't know.
Well, right now I have this thing up, and at where I'm at editing, and just a full color hardcover copy with black and white pictures, $30. Okay. Reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable, but somehow we gotta figure out the colors.
But I want to fucking create a color, because if I see color images, I'm gonna be excited.
Oh, very good.
I just want to hold the copy of this book in my hand. I have an old copy of the very first one with the old cover where it had a thumbs up, a finger flicking you off, and a pointer finger pointing.
Now we're more refined.
In paperback, yeah. Now we're refined. We're bourgeoisie. Yeah. We have more class.
Across in a very educational manner.
Yes. Can you fucking speak up? Can you turn up your volume?
I think you need to turn up the volume on your end, on your...
No, it's the highest setting right now.
Alright, I'll get closer to my thing.
How about getting closer?
It's because I'm speaking on the iMac. I should do it on the laptop next time. I'll be much closer to the...
Yeah, how about that?
Well, I can do it right now, but it'll waste
How about, let's not waste time. How about let's go to...
But you should see something really quick before we go to the next topic.
What's that?
Yeah, what do you see it behind me?
Let me check. Hold on, let me go back to the window. It looks like naked dudes on your wall. You went for the jump. Oh, it's Bruce Lee pictures. Those are fucking badass. That's, you know, you can tell a room is badass if it has posters on the wall.
2 Bruce Lee posters.
You know, back in the 80s and 90s, they used to have posters on the wall. You go to like a kid's room or something, they have like cool posters of like, you know, Commando or Schwarzenegger or Stallone and Rambo. Now you got fucking badass Bruce Lee, 2 badass Bruce Lee posters.
Exactly.
From the same movie.
It's a mirror image, but it's not.
That's pretty badass. That's how you know a room is badass, when it has posters. Okay, let's go to the principles of social competence. I moved it out of the student section and into the public section.
I noticed that.
So that people can address corrections and whatnot.
They can actually read it right away.
They could write it.
Oh, they can help in the editing process.
They can see the change log, etc.
Yes.
So let's go to the change log.
Alright.
Actually,
What?
some guy wrote in and said, could you please remove the picture of the Virgin Mary in the book?
Oh, yeah,
I feel like you are belittling her and makes me quite angry. I would say blah, blah, blah. So I'm taking it he's a Catholic. But, there's no cameras.
There's Virgin Mary all over the place.
There's no fucking cameras of back in biblical times. And this is the same type of guy who's probably, looking for Mother Mary in the images in tortillas,
Yeah. I was gonna give
tortillas, trees, in your dookie.
Yeah, okay.
He's probably seeing images of Mother Teresa, of the Virgin Mary everywhere. So we just can't accommodate insanity like that.
Accommodate that kind of
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
I'm sure if it was, I don't always agree with religious viewpoints.
Yeah.
In most respects. But I'm not adverse to accommodating some institution or some, how do I want to say this? I'm not averse to accommodating requests, even if I think they're unreasonable requests.
Why is that?
Because in some respects, there's always going to be human institutions or human things that people cling to. They're kind of like, security blankets.
You don't want to drive them away just because
I don't want to drive them away just because of that thing, because I figure eventually they'll grow up or mature to a certain degree where it's not going to be a huge tooth pulling for them if I do something that offends them.
Yeah, that's good you didn't put any Lord Vishnu, otherwise I would be on hotel.
Yeah. I don't want to put any 6-armed elephants on the cover of the book in case there are any Vishnu adherents.
Vishnu fanboys.
Vishnu fanboy. Vishnu fanboys.
We'll be sending you emails. Please remove that.
I don't want to put any depictions of Muhammad getting beheaded or anything like that.
Oh, you don't want to do that, dude. You'll have like 1 billion emails.
I don't want any death threats, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to make fun of anything just for the sake of making fun of it. If I'm doing something or putting it in the ebook, I want it to definitely have a point.
Yeah.
To definitely serve a purpose. I don't want anything to be...
Forum, but ebook will
exactly. I don't want anything to be mean-spirited or just angry or cruel just for the sake of cruelty.
Yeah.
I think I've hammered home that point enough. Incognito. I'm on the new thread. Changelog for the principles of social competence.
I think I read that this morning. Yeah.
And Incognito is a very diligent.
I like that.
Diligent guy, adding a lot of corrections, editing, and just generally helping out. Mm-hmm. Talk for a second.
Well, last night I had another fun night after a week, so I was quite thrilled. I was at a sausage fest, but then I somehow managed to talk to a couple of girls.
All right, I'm back.
There you go.
Something about a sausage fest.
Yeah, and spoke to the only couple of girls there.
Okay, we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah.
Let's get to the changelog. Okay, so the major updates.
Yeah.
We simplified the EM model to 3 questions. Thanks to your confusion. Thanks to your confusion, you brought up an issue of what did you bring up?
Yeah, passive, active.
Yeah.
People are putting the same shit in both places. I'm like, how the fuck is
how the fuck is passive expectations active expectations? How are active expectations passive expectations?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is it's just inaccurate. That's why there's so much confusion. So we had to get rid of the inaccuracy to get rid of the confusion.
Mm-hmm. So it's more like a stated and unstated.
Yes. Basically, the difference between the active and passive, the real distinction we're trying to make is that some are being expressed and others are not being expressed.
Here it is. Once you make them active, it becomes active.
That's a nice circular definition. Once you communicate that expectation, it becomes active. And if it's uncommunicated, it's passive. Exactly. But that distinction between active and passive isn't really an accurate distinction. So we're just going to say, are you communicating your expectations? It's so much simpler. Makes so much more sense.
So much simpler, dude. I like it.
So we modified it to 3 steps where you ask, what are my expectations? You got to know if they're functional or dysfunctional, number 1. And do you even know what your expectations are? If you don't have expectations, most of you guys just go into social interactions and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just hope something happens.
We don't.
You have a general sense of you want to be happy, but that's your only expectation. I want to be happy. A vague, nonsensical expectation.
Vague. And that's why your interactions are all vague or kind of directionless.
Thank you. So you don't know what your expectations are. They're all vague. So you're like, what are my expectations? That's the number 1 question you need to ask. Are your expectations functional or dysfunctional? And do you even know what they are? If you don't know what your expectations are, you won't know what to do in the social interaction. Most of the time, you have no clue what you're doing. Like, you guys will talk on the phone and just
nonsense,
talk about nothing because you have no idea what you want to accomplish in the social interaction.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, for example, me, I'm talking to a girl, even though I stated interest and stuff, all of a sudden I'm talking about nonsense and then I have to catch myself. Hey, what is my mission here?
Is this a buddy? Do you want to make friends with them? Or is this a girl you want to get in a relationship with? What's your expectation?
Yeah.
Step 2. Am I able to communicate my expectation? Yes, you may know what your expectation is, but if you don't talk or you can't express it, you have no practice, no. Sound like a fucking Rastafarian. I'm a Rastafarian, man.
All right.
If you have no practice, no experience communicating that expectation to others, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting that expectation met.
Yeah, one guy who, we have an example who does it pretty well is Paperclip. You know, he's very raw, he states a lot of expectation.
Paperclip. Also, I remember one of his entries where he's talking to a girl, and he implies an expectation. Like there's a social expectation that is an implied expectation, or there's a personal expectation he has that he thinks a girl should know about, but he hasn't clearly communicated it to the other person.
The children, they don't know it any better.
Often a problem, not communicating your expectations clearly. And last but not least, am I enforcing my expectation? If you have an expectation and you communicate it, you know what they are, you know what your expectations are, and you clearly communicate it to another person, but you fail to enforce it, it's all for naught.
Huh?
It's all for naught. It's an expression. It's all for
nothing. All for nothing.
Yeah, all for nothing.
Yeah.
All for naught.
Complete words. I like complete words. Yeah.
So,
enforcement though, you need some kind of incentive before you can do the enforcement, right? People to follow and meet your expectations. So that's where.
What the fuck are you talking about?
To enforce your expectations, you need to give the other person some incentive.
That's part of enforcement.
Exactly, and I was just adding it in there.
Congratulations.
Because people, I think enforcement, you just kick the other person and give them pain, but they also have to have some incentive.
Enforcement includes both pain and pleasure.
See, but most people, when you think enforcement, you think of a law enforcement.
Yes, you just think of law enforcement. You think of pain.
Yeah, see, people forget the pleasure.
I forget the pleasure. But we've also changed, I'm applying pleasure and I'm applying pain to reward and punishment. And here's the reason why. Initially, we were going to say reward and punishment.
Yes.
But we didn't want to associate it with a New Age term, reward and punishment, or the demonized term, reward and punishment, because they have many different connotations that we wanted to get away from. We wanted to make the explanation clear that a reward includes... God, I fucking can't talk right now because my jaw is
some kind of pleasure.
All jacked up. Reward includes pleasure.
Yeah, joy, yeah.
And, did you think I said joy? I said jaw. My jaw is all jacked up.
I just said joy, like you give someone joy.
Yeah, but your jaw sounds like joy. Your joy sounds like jaw.
That's how badass I sound.
There's so many distractions and hindrances right now from finishing this podcast. The number one distraction is my jaw. I can't even articulate sounds right now. I'm having trouble speaking. You might have to carry the entire podcast.
Next time we'll do some jaw exercises before we.
Yeah,
We'll like, hey, Kali-chan, all right, time to do the jaw exercises. Warm up.
She sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore.
Do some tongue stretching.
Okay. Come on, we gotta get through this, man. We gotta get through this. Otherwise, I have to let you explain all these concepts, and students are gonna freak out if I put you in charge of the podcast.
Yeah, unless you have everything written down, including the subpoints, then I can read it out.
Okay. Reward and punishment. We want to hit home with a concept that we want to emphasize the concept that reward includes pleasure and punishment includes pain.
Yes.
Many times when people talk about these concepts, reward and punishment, they don't reference pain or pleasure. For instance, one time I was working at this, what was it? It was an after-school program with another friend of mine. And I had just started the position, and I was talking to this friend, and I said, you know what? What if these kids screw up? What are we supposed to do for punishment? Right? Like if some kid hits another kid, there's like got to be a timeout or, I don't know, restriction, whatever. There's got to be a punishment. So I go over and ask the supervisor. We obviously know about what to do when they're behaving. There's all kinds of rewards. They get candy, all kinds of shit. That's just senseless bribery going on over at this place. So I ask him, or I ask the chick, what are we supposed to do if there's a problem? How do we punish these kids? And she's like, no, that's a barbaric concept. We've evolved. We are evolved beings. We don't want to concentrate on punishment.
Well, I hear that a lot nowadays.
It's like fucking lunacy. She's like, we want to talk about, we want to talk about creative ways in which we address their behavior. I'm like, creative ways? That's just a fucking euphemism for you being a fucking retard and not being able to directly address the problem.
That sounds very hippie-ish.
It is fucking hippie-ish.
Let's give them some art and they'll figure it out.
It's like saying, oh, you stabbed my friend. I can't punish you, but I just want to find out why you stabbed them and what can we do should we ban all metal objects from your universe? Should we tie your hands behind your back? I mean, what should we do?
We want to work into a world where it's just so nice.
Goddamn fucking hippies. Okay. Anyway, the point is we want to hit home. We want to hit home with a concept. I don't think that's the right way to say it. We want the concept to hit home.
Yeah, exactly.
We want it to hit home that you should be applying pleasure and pain in the form of a reward and punishment.
To me, since I'm a little old school, or since I'm from India, reward and punishment mean you reward somebody when they do something good, but punish you give them a kick when they do something bad.
Yeah, it's generally, I guess if you look at the dictionary definition, it
makes sense to me.
It'll make sense, but the way people use it today, the definitions have been so adulterated.
Yeah.
We decided we gotta fucking do something to reestablish that definition. We gotta take back the definition.
Yeah, now that you brought it up, now I'm like, oh, maybe it's like diluted, but I look at reward and punishment like the way it's supposed to be.
The problem is, you can't really backpedal. You can only avoid issues so much before you have to start establishing like a beachhead. You have to start establishing your territory. Yes. You gotta say, look, you may have demonized this term reward or demonized this term punishment. You're a fucking hippie, and I want to hit you in the face with a bat. But to do that most effectively, I have to take those terms which are universal terms, and I have to redefine them because you have fucked them up so much through your childish, immature, and irresponsible use of the terms. They become nonsensical terms in the culture. They become vilified, demonized terms in the culture. So what we have to do as men is we have to say, look, you're a fucking idiot. Stop stealing those words. Give me those words back. I have to basically, it's like a classic car. You fucked it up. You've driven it over a cliff and crashed it. I got to take that car back. I got to repaint it, retool it, revitalize it, and redefine it. And that's what I got to do with these words. I got to redefine them.
Exactly.
So what we're doing here is we're redefining reward and punishment to include the definition pain and pleasure.
Okay, I see what you're doing.
This is crucial because if you don't do this, people have so many foreign concepts. Like when you say you need to punish that person, what does that mean? Essentially, that means you need to apply pain to that person. If they don't feel pain, they're not being punished. But when you say, "Hey, you need to punish that person to a fucking hippie," they're going to say, "Oh, I need to clarify their mistake and create an action plan to deal with that."
That's not punishing. Clarifying is not punishing.
That's exactly my point. So unless you
two different goddamn words.
Functionally define these terms and establish that, look, this is what we mean when we say this, and if you fucking make an alternative hippie definition out of this term, I'm going to punch you in the vagina or in the nuts. Actually, vaginas might not have nuts, so we're just going to say I'm going to punch you in the vagina or the vagina, and I'm going to reestablish this term the correct way. That's what needs to be done here. So that's why, and also because Dr. Ladice had a conniption fit when he hates when students say I'm applying pleasure and I'm applying pain because they sound like retards. They don't sound like normal people.
Well, yeah, it's better to say what exactly they're doing so that makes more sense.
Yeah, we want to stress that we're applying pleasure and applying pain, but we want to be able to integrate into society.
Yeah,
so we want to speak like normal people.
Like I can't say half this stuff to anybody.
Ladice is embarrassed by the thought of even associating with students. So whatever he could do to least aggravate or incite his hatred of students. His hatred of students.
I don't see. I mean, it's it's his. You're in his work, so if he's not bothered by it, he's come up with better work.
No, I'm fucking around. But the point is, I can see his point. We don't want you to sound like retards. We don't want you to sound like the seduction community when you're talking to people and you go, look, bro, I'm in a 2-set and I need to. I'm in the comfort phase, so I need to neg the target. You sound like a fucking retard to the normal person. If you're saying this person is screwing with my expectations or not meeting my expectations, so I'm punishing them, or they're
so much better.
It sounds so much clearer and it sounds so much more common sense and it makes sense. It's coherent. If you say this person hit me, so I'm throwing them in jail, or this person
hit me something in the back.
This person is stealing my food, so I'm punishing them by having them arrested. It makes sense because these terms are common terms, but the definitions have just been adulterated. So we're trying to clarify these definitions. So it's important when you're talking about in your EM reports, when you're talking about applying pain, applying pleasure, when you're saying I gave this girl a cookie, but she was acting like a bitch and she just ignored the gift I gave her. Now I have to punish her by removing my attention. This makes sense, and that's why you need to clarify your punishment. You don't want to just say I punished her because it's abstract. The concept of punishment isn't coming across.
Yeah, you need a specific example used in that instance.
Yes, so it's important to say how you punish the person, so we can see that you're applying pain. We can see that you're not just using the term punishment in an irresponsible way, where you're just saying I punished her by complaining. When you say, you make a sarcastic comment like, "Oh, you're real nice," that's not punishment. That's you being sarcastic.
That's sarcastic. It's a dysfunctional way of
it actually is punishment, but it's a dysfunctional application of pain. So we want to be clear what the problem is with your punishment. We want to be clear what the problem is with the enforcement of your expectation. So if we could see that you're applying dysfunctional pain, we could say, oh, look here, when you punish somebody, see how you're applying pain dysfunctionally by using your faggot sarcasm? That's the problem.
Yes.
So we want to identify the problems, and it's very easy to diagnose the problem once you are clear with your application of pain and pleasure. So we're defining these terms or redefining them or using these words for clarity's sake.
In the previous form, you're in like a city full of smog. Now you're in a city by the beach and it's clear.
Now we cleared out the smog, exactly. We're clearing out the smog. So that is the point of making these changes here. So in a sense, we're not really changing we're just making you sound less retarded. Instead of saying I'm applying pain and applying pleasure,
we're making you identify the pain and pleasure, and we're making you use common terms like reward and punishment that are already there. You know,
Yes.
what reward means applying merited pain or
Pleasure.
merited pleasure, and punishment means applying merited pleasure. So
Pain.
we're talking,
Applying merited pain.
yeah, we're talking about these terms. It's almost like a self-identifying. When you're saying reward, you're implying that the pleasure is merited. It's not just it's not just handing out pleasure arbitrarily. We're saying you deserve this pleasure. And when we're saying punishment, it implies that the pain is merited, which is the crucial word here, merited. If your pain is just given out, like if you're just walking around punching people in the face, you're punishing them, but they're not meriting that pain.
Unmerited and it's dysfunctional.
Unmerited pain is going to create terror. It's going to create disorderly behavior.
Yeah, okay. I like that. That makes sense.
So that's the emphasis we want to create there.
Much more accurate.
Much more accurate.
Yes.
So that's one of the major changes going into the ebook. Okay, let's talk about your report, because I need to give my jaw a rest. It's fucking killing me. Go ahead.
What report?
Let's talk about your time spent in Nirvana with these Indian bitches. What happened?
Well, what happened? It was like a little bit of adventure. I had like this one Indian guy. He thought I was really cool, and he's been inviting me to go to places with him.
Oh, sweet.
The problem is, when he hang out with him, his friends bring chicks, or he brings a chick. When I start talking for a while, the chick starts liking me.
Oh, you're stilling chicks now. You're the fucking worst student at Manhood Academy, and you're stilling bitches now.
I mean, I can create initial interest and stuff. It's later on then where I start getting clueless. So that's where I am right now.
You create interest, but you get clueless.
Later on, like after I like get.
It's not that you get clueless later on. You start clueless.
Okay. Well, I somehow managed to generate enough interest in the beginning. That's about it.
Okay, so you're just expressing. You're expressing your experiences, and they're drawn in by your experiences, but you have no fucking expectations.
Yes.
Like,
yes. They're like, oh, he's so cute, so they want to be around me, but then they're like, oh, this guy, after some time, he loses direction.
What do you mean after some time you lose direction? You've already lost direction before you even started the conversation. You have no direction. That is the problem.
Okay.
You start off with no direction.
Even though there is some incentive, there is no direction. Okay.
It's like saying there's a box of candy here. And you're like, oh, that's incentive. Great, there's a box of candy. So what?
This is the Russian girl's number I got.
Can't see.
Okay, no. Okay, box of candy, but okay, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Showing pictures of Russian girls on his iPhone. So sexy.
Okay.
So hot. Post some pictures on the forum.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, that one chick I went on like a month and a half ago, I pasted the picture. She's running for Miss California now.
Oh, sweet. Post that bitch's number up. Post her picture up.
Only if I had some direction, you know?
Yeah, if only you had some direction, you'd be tapping that ass right now.
Yeah. So, oh well.
Oh, well.
Yeah, the direction I think comes with experience. I really lacked a lot of experience, so I don't know.
You need experience not getting your expectations met? Is that what you're telling me?
Something.
The more frustrated you become, the more you are getting experience?
Well, at least I'm realizing, oh fuck, like, okay, I'm talking about nonsense. I should like get it back to the point saying, hey, I like you, I want to do this. Every time she interrupts to say something, I learn how to deal with it, and that comes with more and more practice.
So you're practicing in a direction is what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, because my direction is on, my compass is jacked up right now.
Right. So the more accurate your compass gets, you can already attract chicks right now. You basically just can't close the deal because you have no direction. Your expectations are all jacked.
Yeah, jacked, yeah.
So you can attract the girl initially, but again, to create ultimate attraction is to create order, which means an orderly direction is a relationship. If you're just attracting just for the sake of attracting and doing nothing with it, you're not creating order. There's no order because she's not getting in a relationship.
Yes.
She's just, oh, I'm attracted. Now what? Nothing.
Exactly. Like, I'm able to convey some experiences, smiling, I'm comfortable, but then I'm getting lost. So the direction, yeah.
So we need to have some direction to create order, to ultimately create some real attraction.
Well, there is direction when I stay interested, saying, hey, I like you, I want to do this. So that direction is there, and after that, that's where it's like she...
Stalled out.
What?
Stalled out after that.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
Let's just pause here for another hour.
Well, that's where I am right now. And,
all right. Sweet.
Somehow I need to keep moving forward, post my shit, and be more active, read the ebook again, get my direction straight. A lot of work to do, man. A lot of work, since I have such low experience with chicks.
Exactly.
Even conveying my experience, I'm not the best. It's just that I'm better than all the retards who I'm hanging out with.
Yes.
Because I noticed, like, when I was in Paperclip, like, he is much more freer with conveying experience. That gives much more incentive. So even if your direction is little, and his direction is much more better. If the incentive is so high, they kind of, like, you know.
Oh, your incentive is so large!
You know?
I like your large
Your
incentive.
incentive's so good, but you're a retard. It's like, hold on, let me show you a direction.
Hold on, let me show you a direction I'm going in. I'm going to 7-Eleven. Do you want to follow?
Exactly.
That is sweet. Let's see what else to talk about. Did we cover everything? Did we cover the podcast? Did we cover Did we cover the podcast we're podcasting about?
Did we cover the podcast?
Let me see the podcast
I
notes
think
here.
The main points about what the changes are. You already mentioned them on the site, and we added clarity by explaining why we made those changes, so students get a better picture of what's going on.
We added clarity. I know I had a couple more things to talk about. Expectation management. Let's see. Did anybody post any expectations that we want to talk about?
I don't know.
Ta-da! MS. Mother-son. This guy, I think he has a black education because his listening skills are delinquent.
Yeah, he can't write that well and read. Listen to it, yeah.
I want to kind of give this guy a pass.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I always think of this guy as like in, what's that movie where there's like a young black kid and he's struggling to...
Yeah. I kind of feel that with him, but...
He's struggling to learn the ropes.
He has to step it up and try to meet some basic standards at least.
I feel like I'm in that movie Lean on Me where I'm teaching inner city black kids. Teaching them grammar and English and whatnot. He's got like a gang life. I'm imagining him dodging gang bullets and he's wearing, Bloods or Crips bandanas. I'm like, come on, you gotta turn an EM report. He's all, yo, son, I don't get this shit. This shit don't make sense, yo.
He has his heart in his right place, but he needs some...
Yes, there's good intentions, but there's also lack of education. So when good intentions meet lack of education, we have problems with the EM report. So in one sense, I'm tempted to give him a pass. On the other hand, I'm trying to raise his standard of writing. I'm trying to raise his standard of paying attention of learning how to produce something, that's quality, a quality EM report. So I want him to at least hit the basics, the basic tenets of an EM report, where you put things in brackets the right way. He's putting things in parentheses instead of brackets. Just simple things like that. I want him to fucking turn in a quality report. So I don't think that's expecting too much.
No, it's not. You can follow it, looking at the examples. You do it, you don't get it 3 times. If you do it 4 times, you'll get it. It's not that hard.
I think so. I think that's doable. So
and more people doing it that way, you have to get it.
Exactly. So I'm instead of lowering my expectations, I'm going to raise his standards up. So I want to get him on the page as everyone else at least, at the very least.
Then you're going to feel like a retard if you don't do it.
Exactly. I understand his expectations are going to be a little ghetto from time to time.
Yeah.
But that's fine as long as they make sense in context of his report, and as long as he's following the basic structure of an EM report.
Yeah.
Let's cover that, by the way, because some people are fucking that up. What do we expect in an EM report? Okay. Bold the names of the speakers and put spaces between their names.
Yes.
Very basic stuff.
I'm glad you thought up a proper formatting for EM.
Yeah, me too. I was getting so fucking tiresome reading like 200 different formats.
I remember once I wrote like 10, 20, 15 paragraphs, and you were like, what the hell?
And I like how each of these little things, like when I see problems with my expectations getting met, it's because my expectations aren't clearly stated.
Yeah,
so this is a perfect example of me clarifying my expectations. If I'm not communicating these expectations, you can't be responsible for meeting my expectations.
See? That's why I wasn't responsible for being disorderly.
Yes, you are disorderly because I didn't convey my expectations for what kind of EM reports I expected. Yeah. So I need to solve this problem by by communicating my expectations clearly.
You're definitely stepping up on stating your expectations off late, and which making things much more clearer. People are like,
Sweet. So that's just formatting for your EM report. It's a lot easier if you format your EM report the right way.
Fine-tuned with your expectation. Now you want every
detail of it. Be fine-tuned with your expectations with chicks. Instead of having them clean the kitchen, have them do the dishes, mop the floor, make the sandwiches, etc. Be specific with your expectations. Add commentary and brackets.
So at any point, they know exactly what they need to be doing.
Exactly. Okay. It's like it's a difference between having a schedule that says work and study versus work for 2 hours, study math, study geometry, study calculus, etc.
This makes so much sense, man. When you get the discipline going in yourself, that's only then you can have discipline someone else.
Yes. If your schedule says work and free time on it, you're in no position to provide orderly direction to another person.
Exactly. Self-direction will lead to direction.
This is how these concepts are interrelated. The more you're able to direct your own life, the more you'll be able to direct another person's life.
Yes, there you go.
Add commentary and brackets that illustrates the concepts from the ebook. Be sure to list the type of pain, pleasure you're punishing, rewarding her with. Or him, I should say. Yeah. There's so many options. It's pain, pleasure, you're punishing, rewarding him, her with.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah, I think the point is...
Come Come on, it's
I'm
not
trying
like
to
we
get the point
have like
across.
a different, like you have tiger, lion, everything. It's just about that.
You're trying to get the rewarding the tiger and lion with either or.
Give it some pleasure of meat. Or
Be sure to list the pain,
tranquilizer.
pleasure, the
Tranquilizer
shotgun
and-
pie. I should say shotgun pie instead of pain pleasure. I should say be sure to list the shotgun or the pie you're breaking knuckles or kissing the lion or tiger with.
See, the like even though like people experience pain in the form of sarcasm, like verbal pain, like when telling people to give other people verbal pain is a concept that it's like you're something you're learning.
Learning to give people verbal pain.
Yeah, like when you're scolding them, that's verbal pain.
Yes, verbal pain.
You don't think of that way. See, like when you think of pain, you think of like a needle going in.
Well, we should put the types of pain. We should put. Don't we have verbal pain in our book? Let me see.
No, we don't.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck!
Because when you say pain, bam, you think of whipping somebody.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm on pain. Blah, blah, blah. Hold on. Wait. Pain. Oppressive punishment. Pain. Threats. Ridicule. Direct punishment. Let's see.
Ridicule.
Disagreement. Disapproval. Rejection. Ignoring. Enforcing consequences. Actually, we don't necessarily make a distinction between physical pain and verbal pain.
Okay.
But I think it's already implied when you're saying something like use negative associations. That's obviously that can't be physical pain. That has to be verbal pain.
But that's not as direct as verbal pain.
Disapproval, rejection, that is verbal pain. Ignoring, that's your attention. That's physical.
See, disapproval. There's so many ways to do disapproval. I mean, I guess you could do.
Yeah, but the point is we're being specific. We're being specific. We're not just saying use verbal pain. It doesn't make sense unless you say how.
Okay.
Disagreement is the how. So I think we've covered it.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay, let's see what else here. So you want to add commentary. So when you say, you don't want to say, I like tacos, in parentheses you put, I'm telling her stuff. You want to say, I like tacos, and in brackets you want to say, I'm stating my expectation. And then when she says, I hate tacos, they're gross, you want to say in commentary in brackets, she's violating my expectation with her competing expectation. She hates them. She's applying the pain of disapproval. Whoops, did I say that wrong?
See, actually, when you start writing EMs like that, you start realizing what you're doing exactly at any point in the interaction, and it's great.
That's what's also helpful. You can see how it forces you to examine how you're fucking up yourself, and that's ultimately what we want to do is train you how to self-diagnose the problems. Because of course I can't be there to hold your hand, and that's not the goal. The goal is to make you self-sufficient, so you can go, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm justifying myself. Like a lot of guys are justifying themselves in the interaction when justification isn't called for.
Yes. You only justify only when after they hear your
exactly.
story.
Maybe I should clarify this because I put punishing her with a pain of disapproval.
Yeah, I mean, you should include it in your ebook that, unless you already put it in, that you can justify only,
No. Fucking guy. I put here, she's punishing me with a pain of disapproval. Right, in the very first example, I put she's applying the pain of disapproval.
Okay.
I want to put she's punishing me with a pain of disapproval.
There you go.
I want to make that clear.
Iteration.
She is punishing me.
Uh-huh.
Here she is. Blah 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 blah. She's PUNISH punishing me with her disapproval. With her disapproval. Did I say that you're supposed to state it like you're punishing me with a pain of disapproval, or do I just say I'm punishing you with disapproval? That shows what type of pain you're using. I think it's fine to say
pain of disapproval.
Yeah, I think it's fine to not. You don't have to say disapproval, not just No, wait. I said that wrong. I think it's fine to not use the word pain. I think it's fine to say you're punishing me with disapproval.
As long as everybody understands that the disapproval is painful.
Yeah, I think that's the point of clarifying that in the ebook. That's why we want to say it that way. I think that's what we said.
So the fact that the disapproval is actually painful, that is...
Refrain from stating, I'm applying pain, pleasure. Instead use, I'm rewarding her with a pleasure of approval. Oh, well... I'm punishing her by ignoring her, etc. Or, I said either or. You could say I'm rewarding her with a pleasure of approval, or I'm punishing her by ignoring her. So you could say it either way, but we want to get away from just saying I'm applying pain.
Yeah.
We want to say I'm punishing or rewarding. That's the emphasis.
And you can include pain if you want to add further clarity, kind of. or pleasure. But as long as you use reward.
As long as you state you're rewarding or punishing, and you state how you're doing that.
Yeah.
That's the two key concepts. If you want to clarify it by saying I'm applying the pain of this or the pleasure of this, then that's also even more clarification. But the two main things that are necessary are to say whether you're rewarding or punishing and how, in what way. Pay special attention to attempts to justify yourself. This is a common mistake you'll encounter over and over where you'll start reasoning with a person who is not meeting your expectations. Oh, it says we've lost our Indian. What the fuck happened to our Indian? Oh, he's offline. He will return, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we can resume our chat when he returns. Great. All right, I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover in the podcast. I'm so sad that Bogler wasn't here to sign off. He's probably panicking right now. I can't sign off, guys. I wanted to be there for the end of the podcast. And Bogler's back.
I got lost in space for a little bit, and then
And you're back. You disrupted the entire podcast. Congratulations.
I got it and made it back to the mothership.
Okay. Anything else we need to cover?
Keep putting in the work.
That is an awesome slogan to end the podcast with.
Well, that's the main thing, dude. Like, you kind of know it's just putting in the work because, like, you know.
You got to train.
Type in those goddamn reports, you know. It takes a lot of work.
You don't type in the reports, nobody can help you. You don't practice your expression posts, nobody can help you. A lot of students are like, hey, why aren't my social interactions improving? I post once a year. Come on, guys. I talked to this girl, I had no idea what to say. What do you think the problem is?
Well, I mean, one thing though, I mean, even if you say you're reading and stuff, things are happening in your mind. Until you do the actual work, you talk to people, you write it out, it's hard to progress forward. Even though things change in your mind, it still doesn't, like, you living in your head to doing it in reality is
theoretical concepts need to be translated into spoken words, into actions. Things need to happen.
See, because otherwise you keep living in your head. You want to live in reality.
Live in reality. Don't live in your head, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Because I love to live in my head. I'm like, you're already having all these, in this case I can say this, but...
There's fantasy interaction in your head.
Exactly, and a lot of people I'm sure do that. I do that all the time.
It's like Star Wars in your head. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, you're not alone. You're all in the same boat.
Because you think, oh, I'm learning all these concepts. Yeah, I got the principles, yeah.
I've got it, man. I just read that ebook.
And you're like, oh shit, wait, what is up?
Oh, wait, it's my boss. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I'm panicking.
Exactly, so you need a lot of practice.
Oh, it's a girl. Oh, it's a group of guy friends. I don't know what to say.
Exactly.
I'm high school 101. I'm stuck in a corner. My buddies are talking about this game. I don't know what to do.
So, but as you keep writing, as you keep chatting, over time, slowly, you give yourself permission to say it everywhere. It's gradual.
You'll give yourself permission. Yes, it's gradual. By practice, you give yourself permission to state your expectations.
Once you have more stuff, you have the practice to be able to say stuff, you're more likely to do that too. Rather than if you don't practice.
You don't practice, you don't speak. That's how you get so good. That's why you're the Bogler now. You're so proficient.
Except some people I don't understand who can write well, but then they don't speak that much.
Yeah.
I never understand. That's
I like that they got the expression in their head. They're like Rob. They're like Rob show.
Dude, fucking Rob. They boggle me. Like, imagine if I could write as these two guys. I could write as these two guys.
Rob doesn't actually practice talking. He just writes.
Yeah. It bothers me because if I had all that thing in my mind, I will tell you. You know, if I
You would tell him. If you had Rob's brain, you would spit it out.
Oh yeah, I would be. Because I don't have all this. I can't write in such a great manner. You know, I'm like, oh wait, I sound silly when I say that. Because
your expression is so enjoyable, Bogler. You don't even realize.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm noticing more and more people are enjoying, even if I'm talking complete nonsense.
Yes, when people enjoy more than, rather than just your nonsense, they enjoy the fact that you have balls to say it. That is the enjoyable part. If you don't have the balls, you're always asking the other person for direction. You become taxing. You become a drag on them.
Yeah.
They have to carry you through the interaction, and it becomes like a weight. You're like a weight on everybody's shoulders. So in the beginning, when you don't give yourself permission, you're always asking the other person for permission to say something. It becomes taxing on them. It becomes a burden. It becomes painful to talk to you.
Anxiety and, you know.
Yes, it's very painful to talk to anxious people. But when you're free to express yourself, it becomes enjoyable. Now you're providing incentive for the other person to interact with you.
Yeah, and one thing, dude, and over time, like, the internalization, like, I see it in my mind, it's conceptual, it's getting stronger, is once you start viewing girls as children, that's when you're like, don't know how to explain it.
Yes.
Or you like,
Once you, not just, you know why you need to start viewing girls as children? Because you need to realize they are children.
they are children.
The reason you don't realize they're children is because you're still a child.
Yes.
The more you become, let's say independent, the more you are able to get your expectations met, to exercise your authority in a functional manner, the more direction you have, you become an adult by definition. That is what separates adults from children.
Yes.
You as a guy are developing that capacity. So once you start realizing that in the social interaction, you start realizing these women have no direction.
Yes.
They are children by definition. This is not just a view. This is a realization that is taking place.
And it takes a while.
So once you start interacting with girls, you get that practice. You realize these are directionless kids just wandering and creating chaos. I need to bring them into an orderly condition.
You start putting it together over time. Like, doing stupid. You're in a fucking club and everyone does some loud music. It's the most stupid thing to do.
Yes. Except you haven't given your permission to say that. You're like, everybody else is here. This must be the adult thing to do. This must be the right thing to do.
This must be the cool thing. Oh, I need to learn and get to the program. That's what
If you're a guy who can go in a club and go, look, you guys want to all get to know each other, but the music is so fucking loud and the alcohol is creating so many dysfunctional conversations, you're fucking it up. You guys are retards. Let me show you how to do it the right way. Everybody would follow you.
That needs a lot of balls.
It takes a lot of balls. That's my point. You have to have balls to do that. Balls change the world. That's why one guy with balls is more effective than 50 guys without.
There is, but see, the problem is how do you develop balls? You just got to do it. You start little by little.
It takes practice. It takes practice. It takes practice. Balls come by practice. You got to practice getting your little expectations met, then your bigger expectations met.
Yes. So,
Baby steps.
baby steps, exactly. I had some other point, but then I forgot. So,
Then the point just flew out the window.
oh well, I'll come back another time, and I'm gonna regret it.
You'll regret it later. Enjoy. Thank you for joining us at Manhood Academy Podcasting. This has
Thank
been
you, guys.
Plum
Keep training.
and the Boggles
There you go. Women are children. Remember that.
signing off.